This story is one that is rarely told, yet is full of historical firsts, glamour, business power, love, and tragedy. It is about a 14-year-old boy who had a dream to fly airplanes. This young man was from the Texas Panhandle who came to California wide-eyed and hopeful of finding a new way of life. A way of life that, little known to him, would propel him to the top of the world from washing dishes to the boardroom. This is a story about Jack FRYE, the flying president. Jack FRYE encountered and overcame many obstacles to becoming the youngest airline president of all time in just a few short years of his humble beginnings. Ever since young Jack witnessed 3 Jenny biplanes land in the fields of his parents' Texas ranch to gain cover from the weather and make repairs, he wanted to fly. He was just 14 years old in 1918 and had dreams of flying he just couldn't get out of his mind after this chance encounter. After borrowing some money and selling his share of the cattle herd to buy a car and have a few bucks in his pocket, he and his brother Donald were finally able to come to California to find some good paying jobs. While selling newspapers, working at a drugstore in downtown Los Angeles, washing dishes and soda jerking for $25 a week, a customer by the name of Burdette Fuller frequented the store from time to time, and it was here that a young Jack FRYE was informed about flying lessons being offered at Burdette's field in South LA. Once Jack saw the Jennies flying and all the action on the field, he was smitten hard. Jack didn't have but $5 on him and wanted to fly. And Burdette, seeing his enthusiasm, decided to take him up, and after this first flight, Jack FRYE was literally transformed and destined to become one of America's greatest pilots. Thereafter, Jack would take flying lessons at $20 an hour until he met the minimum 7.5 hours of solo seat time for a pilot's license. Once he had his pilot's license, Burdette saw that young Jack had a great natural talent to fly and agreed he could help out at the field, taking passengers for joy rides, instructing new pilots how to fly, and began getting involved with flying contests. Some of these contests were dead stick landings, highest elevation flights, barnstorming, and mail carrying contests where the best elapsed time from point A to point B was the criteria for winning. Through this activity, he and Paul Richter, 8 years Jack's elder, became good friends at the field, and both were the type that had a vision for the future at this little field. After about 1.5 years working the field fully embedded in its activity and operations, saving up all the money they could, Jack and Paul and mechanic Walter Hamilton approached old man Fuller in 1927, offering him $5,000 to buy his interest, a few Jenny airplanes, an old wooden shop and hangar, a flying school, and an air taxi service with tools. Burdette was actually happy to oblige, for he was getting tired of the business end of operations and wanted out. By this time, Jack had married his first wife, Debbie Greer. The next step was to expand and modernize, but capital was needed to do this. On February 3, 1926, the Aero Corporation of California was formed with a total of $50,000 in local investments. C.A. Reynolds was president, Richmond Edwards was VP and treasurer, Jack FRYE was VP and chief pilot in charge of field operations, Paul Richter a director and pilot, and Walter Hamilton chief mechanic and director. A 5-year lease was obtained on a 310-acre parcel located at 94th Street and Western Avenue in South LA. Construction of buildings and hangars began for a May 1st opening of the new field. The trio, later to be called the Three Musketeers of Aviation, and their partners came to a vote and made Jack FRYE president of their new company, Aero Corporation of California. Jack was only 25 years old, and as of this date, still holds the record for being the youngest chief airline executive of all time. By now, Jack and Paul had been flying the mail to Catalina Island and all around the Southwest in their Jenny stick and cloth covered aircraft, and as they grew were able to acquire some Ford tri-motor airplanes and begin to fly passengers on sightseeing trips across the Southwest into Arizona and New Mexico. And at the home field on Western Avenue for the remainder of 1926, there had been over 8,000 passenger rides taken, a record that couldn't be beat by any American operation at the time. By April 1927, the company was reorganized and Jack FRYE was again elected president. Los Angeles was the air capital of the world in the 1920s. It can be honestly stated that Jack FRYE and Paul Richter were probably the very first to view the Grand Canyon and Meteor Crater from the air. By 1927, Aero Corporation added a subsidiary company called Standard Airlines, with Jack as president, taking the line to El Paso, Texas. The Three Musketeers, FRYE, Richter, and Hamilton, were endowed with a strong belief in the future of merchandise transportation, and they had a great business sense and administrative abilities. FRYE's firm belief in a bright future flying passengers cemented him into the airline industry at such an early age and with the sky the limit in his future. Jack was 110% committed to the new frontiers he was about to pioneer and loved every minute of it. So much so that if he wasn't flying passengers or the mail, he was searching from the air all over the Southwest and beyond for new airstrip locations that could be carved out of the dirt and developed into a route system for future passenger travel. Jack dreamed big. He saw the future with the public desiring to fly and travel from point A to point B in rapid time. He saw that the American population wanted to spread its wings and see the country from the air and do it in comfort, safety, and efficiently. Thus, Jack FRYE birthed the first American transcontinental air rail route system in the country with his Standard Airlines fleet of tri-motors from Los Angeles to El Paso, Texas, and back. He and Richter flew the inaugural flights in each direction with 8 passengers and 200 pounds of payload aboard Fokker Universals. The flight to Phoenix took 3 hours and cost $47.50, and the leg to Tucson was 1 hour and 25 minutes and cost $12.50. Now we can see the drive and dedication young Jack FRYE had, all the love realizing his dream of flying on the ranch as a boy. The boy became a man and one of determined and focused expertise in growing the airline industry beyond what any other could imagine since the Wright brothers and the dawn of powered flight. This was a very opportune time, and Jack FRYE made the most of it. He knew he was on the cutting edge of a completely new way of life for Americans and saw its great potential. Money could be made and technical advancements could be developed. Inventions in early aviation were ripe for the picking. What more could a young, handsome, and successful entrepreneur desire? Be sure to listen to Part 2 of the Jack FRYE video bibliography.